FD Signifer often refers to discipline as a quality the left has been lacking. This was a central concern of his last video. This video is not about Candace Owens. Laying out the tactical error of the pro-Palestine left, accepting the support of the pro-Palestine far-right nationalists. It's a great video, but I wanted to expand upon a topic touched on in the video: how to handle hope. Great crises are balanced out by the possibility for great change. Out of this uncertainty, we get an ecstatic hope acting as a motivating force for progress. This isn't new. Hungary, for example, went through a terrible period after World War I. Their alliance with Austria collapsed, their army was disarmed, and they were invaded from 3 sides. Despite all of this, George Lukács was inspired by the 1917 Russian Revolution and would successfully take part in Hungary's own revolution, funneling a hope for progress out of terrible turmoil. However, Lukács would become a member of the new government and do some pretty bad stuff along with the rest of the leadership. A once hopeful situation collapsed in on itself. In the middle of all this, Lukács wrote an interesting piece called Tactics and Ethics. It can get us closer to answering how hope should be handled within political movements. Palestinian liberation is what Lukács would refer to as a transcendent political movement, as its goals lie outside of the current system. More specifically, Palestinian liberation relies on the breakdown of the apartheid system and the creation of a new system of government. This changes the tactical approach the movement has to take. Transcendent goals, unlike more immediate goals, are distant, requiring more tactical consideration than an imminent goal, which can be accomplished within the system already present, something like housing reform. This is why people like FD Signifer stress discipline for real progressive issues. With the wrong information or with the wrong approach, or even a lack of action, movements with transcendent goals can end up being misled by false prophets, succumb to centrist compromise, or become disillusioned. There is a fine tightrope to walk. You need concentration, forethought, balance. All things ecstatic hope can help or hinder. The progressive Palestine movement finds itself walking a tightrope, but also at the same time it is finally full of hope. Part of that hope comes from a rising attention being provided to Palestinian issues and seeing a broader coalition of people start to support Palestine. The issue being some may not have the actual same ultimate transcendent goal as the original progressive pro-Palestine movement. One of the new groups who now is supporting Palestine would be these far-right nationalist groups, motivated by conspiracy and ultimately anti-Semitism. While it could look like, from a short-term point of view, these two movements should work together due to a quasi-similar goal, but that alliance would be a tactical error because the ultimate goal is just not the same. You will fall off the tightrope. However, some people might argue that there is an ethical concern with not taking advantage of the moment. In terms of FD's video, the question might be, is it ethical not to take the immediate benefits offered in siding with these nationalists who might immediately help or benefit the Palestinian people? Ethical concerns like this one all have an important premise that our individual actions or inactions may have an effect on our surroundings. Make the wrong choice and you have to live with the consequences. As an individual supporting a political movement, a collective who take actions together means adopting the consequences of those actions ethically. So we have to be careful who we lend our political support to because you take on the consequences for their effects. Basically, there are some kinds of dirt which you just can't wash out. And as a side note to this ethical question, we also have to rule out ethical inaction, because inaction would be regressive towards our individual responsibilities and conscious when living in an unethical system, because we would be taking on the consequences of the unethical system through our inactions. And it's really from here where Lukács starts to veer off his own tightrope. For Lukács, the inaction to not ally yourself with the nationalists should be viewed as an inaction that takes us further away from our ultimate transcendent goal. That a part of the requirement in fighting for such a cause is a self-sacrifice of our ethical selves. That the tightrope limits us in such a way that dirtying our hands is really the only option to move forward. This would culminate in the getting your hands dirty of a Red Terror killing anti-revolutionaries, another collapse in the new government with the new regime deciding to fight Romania, and a corresponding White Terror killing the original revolutionaries. None of which really actually helping Lukac's ultimate goal, which he states in Tactics and Ethics as human liberation. It seems like the real problem here is that the tactical discipline which channels hope can sometimes act as blinders to the complexity of our actions. We start to see the tightrope as a good thing rather than a constraint. The necessity to tie your transcendent political movement to reality is vital and something which Lukács himself points out as a requirement in the same article in which he makes the ethical blunder we discussed beforehand. For Lukács, the revolution had to use the working class as a model for an economic solution within capitalism that could surpass capitalism. For the pro-Palestine movement, the Palestinian people are the solution to their own apartheid through their own liberation. They are the ones who can provide us with the understanding and the knowledge of what correct direct action is, even if the ultimate goal we have seems far away. A tactical discipline which updates as circumstances change has to also be balanced in an ethical discipline that maintains some kind of standard, which in itself is a vital aspect of tactical discipline. Otherwise, like Lukács said, we start to disavow ourselves of any responsibility or conscience. If the cause we ally ourselves to becomes unethical as well, hope is lost. But to briefly approach the idea of discipline around the Palestinian liberation movement, the support from the far right is not attempting to tackle the issue of the apartheid system, but in overly simplistic terms, take on an imagined system, effectively some hidden Jewish conspiracy to control ordinary Americans and harm American ideals. That movement does not prioritize dismantling the apartheid system and will not advocate for action which will do so. They care about taking down a system that doesn't exist. Tactically, it is a mistake. And even in the short term, ethically, a coalition like that would be the kind of sacrifice that drops the standards of a movement you participate in and sees you lose an ethical connection to the individuals who support the transcendent goal. It is the transcendence of the goal which provides you with the hope to change the existing system. We have to understand there is a need to discipline that hope, but also a need to not fall into a realism that degrades the ideal you start to bring about. This is the tightrope of hope.